My graduation day was supposed to be simple. Not perfect, not glamorous, just mine. After years of late nights, skipped meals, and silent tears, I had finally earned that moment. A small celebration, a cake, a few family members. That was all I wanted. The cake wasn't expensive. White frosting, my name written in blue. Congratulations, slightly crooked, like the baker had rushed. But when I saw it, my chest tightened. Because for the first time in my life, someone had celebrated me. We gathered in my parents' living room. My sister sat on the couch, scrolling her phone. Her son ran around, loud and restless. My parents talked to guests, barely looking my way. I stood near the table, next to the cake, waiting. I didn't even see it coming. 1 second, I was smiling. The next, a blur of movement, a small hand pushed the table. The cake slid, time slowed. The cake hit the floor. Frosting everywhere, the words smashed beyond recognition. Silence. For half a second. Not nervous laughter. Not uncomfortable laughter. Real laughter. My sister laughed first. Then my uncle. Then my mother smiled and shook her head. Kids will be kids, someone said. I couldn't. My throat closed. Because it wasn't about the cake. It never was. They didn't see the nights I cried alone. They didn't see me studying while everyone slept. They didn't see me choosing education while others chose comfort. That cake wasn't dessert. It was proof. She looked at me and said, "Relax. You're too sensitive, too sensitive." The words landed heavier than the cake ever could. My nephew wasn't punished. No apology, no correction. Instead, someone handed him a cookie. I watched, silent. In that moment, something cracked inside me. Not loudly, quietly, like glass under pressure. It wasn't the first time. It never is. Every family gathering, my achievements were minimized. School isn't real life. Your sister has responsibilities. At least she has a child. As if my effort weighed less. I knelt down. Picked frosting from the floor. My hands shook. No one helped. I stood up. Smiled. Said, "It's okay." Because that's what I always did. Inside, something whispered. This is the last time. That laugh didn't just embarrass me. It woke me up. That moment with the cake didn't hurt because it was public. It hurt because it was familiar. I grew up hearing my sister's name before mine. She's older. She needs more support. She has responsibilities. I learned early that love wasn't equal. It was allocated. My sister was loud, confident, and demanding. I was quiet, observant, easy to ignore. Adults like easy children. Easy children don't ask for space. When I brought home good grades, they nodded. When my sister made mistakes, they explained them away. She's tired. She's under pressure. Pressure apparently only existed for her. I stopped announcing my wins. Stopped celebrating myself. Because celebration invited comparison. And comparison always ended the same way. Everything shifted permanently. Her life became harder. Her choices became braver. And mine, less important. I wasn't allowed to outshine her. Not openly, not comfortably. That degree wasn't just education. It was independence. It was proof that I could build something without being rescued. And that scared people. I never blamed the child. Children reflect what they're allowed to do. The laughter that followed the fall of the cake. That was the message. My effort was optional. My feelings negotiable. My milestones replaceable. Standing there, cake destroyed, laughter filling the room. I felt like I was 12 again. Invisible. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I watched. And something hardened into clarity. The truth was simple. They didn't respect what they didn't understand. And they didn't understand a version of success that didn't look like theirs. That night, I drove alone. Graduation cap on the passenger seat. Cake box empty. I pulled over. And cried. It was release. Years of swallowing disappointment finally surfaced. Why did I keep shrinking for people who wouldn't grow for me? That question followed me home. To bed. Into the future. I didn't wake up the next day transformed. There was no dramatic music. No speech in the mirror. No sudden confidence. Just a quiet exhaustion. Not the kind sleep fixes. The kind that comes from years of being misunderstood and still trying. That morning, I realized something. I was tired of translating my worth. I had always explained myself. Why I studied so much. Why I didn't settle down. Why I didn't prioritize what everyone else did. As if my choices needed approval. The first change was small. When my mother called and said, "You should have been more patient yesterday." I didn't defend myself. I said, "I'm not discussing it." Silence followed, not anger, confusion. They weren't used to me being still. They were used to explanations, apologies, smiles. Stillness unsettles people who benefit from your compliance. When someone asked, "So what's next?" "Marriage," I answered, "building my career." And let it stand. Setting boundaries feels wrong when you were raised to be easy. I felt selfish, cold, unkind, until I realized, respect doesn't require discomfort. I began observing my family instead of participating emotionally. The jokes, the dismissals, the patterns. Distance brings clarity. I replayed that scene often. The fall, the laughter, the lack of apology, and I finally understood. The pain wasn't the act. It was the permission. I allowed my milestones to be optional. My emotions to be negotiable. My presence to be background noise. Not anymore. I didn't announce it. But I chose myself, quietly, firmly. As I changed, the room felt different. Less warm, more tense. People notice when you stop bending. I became clear. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need confrontation. I needed alignment. Not the ceremony. Not the diploma. The moment I stopped shrinking, success didn't arrive loudly. It came quietly, in routines, in discipline, in mornings where I chose myself again and again. I found a job that respected my education. Not glamorous, not impressive to outsiders, but stable. For the first time, my life felt like it belonged to me. I didn't pull away dramatically. I just stopped showing up everywhere. Skipped a few dinners, declined a few calls, protected my time, and suddenly, they noticed. "You're busy now, you don't visit much anymore. You think you're better than us." They weren't curious, they were threatened. When people are used to you being small, your growth feels like criticism. Not because you changed, because they didn't. My achievements were mentioned, but lightly. "She works a lot, she's career-focused, as long as she's happy." As if happiness needed justification. She didn't congratulate me. She watched, quietly, measured. Success rearranges family hierarchies. For the first time, I wasn't dependent. Not emotionally, not financially, not psychologically, and that unsettled them. I didn't absorb jokes anymore. When comments crossed lines, I paused. And silence replaced laughter. I learned that you don't need to argue to be firm. You just need to stop participating in disrespect. One weekend, there was another family gathering. Another celebration. I declined politely. No excuse, just honesty. "I won't be coming." The room didn't collapse. The world didn't end. Life went on. And so did I without constant tension. I slept better. Laughed more. Breathed deeper. Peace became my standard. I was visible to myself. And that was enough. That ruined cake no longer hurt. It reminded me of the moment I stopped waiting for permission. For a long time, I imagined the confrontation. The perfect words, the perfect timing, the moment they would finally understand. But it never came, and that was the lesson. I thought healing required an apology. An admission, a recognition of pain. I waited for them to say, "We were wrong." They didn't. Closure doesn't come from others. It comes from acceptance, not approval. One afternoon, my mother called. Her voice careful. "We should talk," she said. I knew what that meant. I would have rehearsed, softened my tone, chosen words carefully. This time, I didn't. She spoke about family, about misunderstandings, about how I was too sensitive. The words were familiar. I didn't list examples, didn't bring up the cake, didn't revisit old wounds. I simply said, "I'm at peace with my life now. I won't revisit the past." It wasn't angry, it was empty, because there was nothing left to argue with. That surprised me the most. Their understanding was no longer required for my healing. I forgave them quietly. Not to absolve them, but to free myself. Holding resentment is exhausting. Letting go felt like setting down a heavy bag I didn't realize I'd been carrying. I outgrew. People expect confrontation. They don't expect calm. Calm ends cycles. It became a story. A marker. The day I stopped begging to be valued. You don't always need to be heard. You need to be whole. Walking away didn't mean disappearing. It meant choosing direction. My life became quieter. Not empty, not lonely, intentional. I gained mornings without dread, evenings without tension, conversations without hidden meanings. I gained space to become myself. Family stopped being about proximity. It became about safety, about being seen without performance, about respect without conditions. Success wasn't applause. It was alignment, waking up without shrinking, Speaking without apology. That diploma no longer symbolized approval. It symbolized resilience. I didn't graduate from school. I graduated from invisibility. That diploma no longer symbolized approval. It symbolized resilience. I didn't graduate from school. I graduated from invisibility. Occasionally, messages came. Polite, surface level. I responded kindly, with boundaries. I no longer negotiated my worth, or my milestones, or my emotions. Peace became my standard. That ruined cake. It no longer represented humiliation. It represented awakening. If your joy makes others uncomfortable, if your growth is minimized, if your milestones are laughed at, hear this. You are not asking for too much. You are asking the wrong people. You don't need a louder voice. You need a stronger center. I found myself.